Yeah, naturally they have a family, but it's strange that this sitcom is making me really imagine and consider Tim the Tool Man, and Jill really doing that, you know?
Well, you know why they call him Tim the Tool Man.
Oh. You know what that show also did that I really appreciate? They cast a family of white children where every white kid looks dramatically as different from the other as they could without having just different body types or one of the kids being crazy fat. Just obviously not in the same family. 90s sitcoms used to do that with regularity.
You all look the same to me, man.
Well, not all of us are open-minded like that. I would clearly notice these things in the black sitcoms. That the characters didn't look. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, it was so great when they replaced the wife. It's amazing.
The funny thing about black sitcoms is the color grading, right? Like they would be like, this brother is dark skin, and then the sibling is light skin, and I'm like, and I'm like, wait, what do you mean and?
Yeah, in real life, there'd be some questions. There would be some questions in that family.
Hard to suspend disbelief there.
I'm not really discerning when it comes to that. I mean, I'm the same guy who looks at the volume meter at arenas and think it's true. I'm very gullible when it comes to that stuff. Like,
but
they're so loud.
But at a certain level, I mean, you would probably notice, though, if just one of the kids in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air family was white and nobody acknowledged it. Like, at a certain level, at a certain degree, you would notice these things.
Hillary was uncommonly light-skinned.
Yeah.
Right? Hillary was uncommonly light-skinned compared to Ashley and Carlton, right? But then when they switched Aunt Viv out, because Carlton and Ashley actually looked the right complexion to be the mix between the darker skin Aunt Viv and the lighter skin Uncle Phil. But then when you switch Aunt Viv out for another light skinned actor, now it's like, wait a second, Carlton and Ashley, how'd they get so dark and their parents are so fair,
Is this the original colorblind casting where they simply gave it to the most rewarding performance?
Perhaps it was a meritocracy. Now, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air did some surreal stuff. Because now I'm remembering the Hillary episode where she's posing in Playboy and Phil goes to a monastery for months because he's so traumatized by this, which the show's depicting a reality. The show's depicting a reality, but obviously that's not happening. And then the darkest thing is...
Wait, hold on. And then they bring up the copy of the Playboy and they say, it was tastefully done. And it's like cloud and weather systems covering all her privates. So it's like, that's what allows him to be like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, Phil didn't need to do all that. The
darkest storyline, of course, is Trevor.
Yes, that's exactly where I was going. Well, the crazy thing about... The crazy thing about that. Yes. The crazy thing about that is how it's played for Yucks. That's the crazy thing about that scene.
It's brilliant comedy because Hillary's so dumb, she doesn't understand what's happened. She's like, finish the question. And then Will is just kind of like, is that supposed to happen? and my favorite part is Aunt Viv is covering Ashley's eyes and Ashley moves her hand slowly and she covers her eyes again. It is peak comedy. Like how every character is acting individually.
I don't dispute that, but it is, when you think about it,
network television,
a crazy dark depiction. That is with Will Smith going, did that just, it's just, if this was real life, the fiance of one of the characters bungee jumps and splatters guts on the ground dead in front of everybody on TV. It would have been a Faces of Death clip, and everybody's going, huh? Ooh, oh man. It's just so...
Counterpoint, when Susan dies on Seinfeld, and George is like, you guys want to go to Monk's? And they just move on.
Yeah, but that's Seinfeld. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air had a heart every now and again. Right?
Yeah.
They had Phil hugging Will when he had the whole thing with his dad.
You don't want me?
Yeah, that whole thing. Imagine if Phil reacted similarly to the Trevor situation. But they could go either way. Sometimes they would be crazy callous like Seinfeld, and other times it was hugs all around.
Wait, I can't believe you just didn't give a spoiler alert Ethan, to all of the happenings on Fresh Prince and Seinfeld. Like, what are you too busy going to brunch or something? What happened? No. Spoiling the MVP.
We had a great transition with going to a monastery. That could have been our lead, but then we just had to keep plowing through the entire catalog of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Mm-hmm. I can't stop talking about 1990 sitcoms. That was my latchkey kid experience. I can't even imagine what I could have been learning other than watching the Wayans brothers sitcom after school and a bunch of other stuff. But anyway,
you had no brothers. You had no single child. So how else were you going to learn family matters?
The Wayans brothers were my brothers. My surrogate brothers.
We're taping this on Tuesday, Ethan, and last night was arguably the best playoff game in years, right up there with the Steph Warriors games, Steph and Thunder games, LeBron against the Spurs. We can go back even further, but I've been writing this, and not to say I've been on this island before anybody else, but I just feel like everyone is now saying Wemby is the best player in the world. And Stephon Castle said it after the game. And I'm like, have you guys not been paying attention about what's happening with Wemby for the last, year plus? And the NBA in particular was slow to the Wemby rise, where they didn't put him on national TV nearly enough, in my opinion, the first couple of years in the league, where I thought this guy is appointment television. He is so different. And anybody can watch the TV, and you don't have to be like, where's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander? You know which one is the 7'7" guy who's got guard skills. And now, after this game, it feels like people are reached the point where it's safe to say that he's the best player in the world because he beat the number one team. He beat Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at OKC in game one in such a resounding fashion that now it's almost like they're late to the party, but it seems like it's early at the same time. You know what I'm saying?
I love how everybody's trying to take credit for seeing the number one pick who's been hyped for years as the greatest prospect anybody has ever seen. I'm looking at this Dragonfly Jones and saying, I was saying this back when I saw this. And other people are saying, I was saying it back when I saw that. Credit to all of you. I'm not saying that you're wrong, but do it with somebody a little less expected, Tom. That's all I'm saying. I feel as though we saw this coming. Now, to what you're saying, though, Tom, here's what I find interesting watching that game. I can't remember another scenario where best player in the world went from hotly contested to immediate consensus in a span of minutes. And yeah, somebody could say, well, he had a great game overall. No. It wasn't that. It's that in the fourth quarter, it looked like he was getting tired. He was gassed, as he's been in a few of these games. Reggie Miller was talking about how one of the replay reviews actually gave him a little bit of a boost. And then all of a sudden...
And then the Giannis free throw thing where Reggie was like, oh, Giannis is getting a little, he's watching this, noticing Wemby's taking a long time on his free throws, trying to catch his breath.
I enjoy Reggie, but that's another topic. But he, all of a sudden, he was not tired anymore. The 30-foot three for the tie and everything else. And then just immediate span of minutes result. Everybody flips, total consensus. This guy's the best player and will be the best player for the next decade. SGA, old news. Never seen that happen in a game one. Never seen such a quick change in the discourse.
1995 game one. That's what it reminded me of.
Oh.
Hakeem Olajuwon and David Robinson receives the trophy.
That'd be the only other one.
Hakeem Olajuwon does everything in that game, and everyone's like, yeah, he's clearly the better player. But, it's funny because there's only one play. It's an amazing game. It's an amazing game. There's only one play where I was like, okay, that's unfair. It wasn't the three-pointer. It wasn't the and one dunk on Chet, which had a lot of extra on it, right? It was the one where Stephon Castle just threw it, and I was like, I felt like the referee in semi-pro, like foul, no two foul, like that's not legal. I don't know what that was. It couldn't be legal because it was just like he caught it midair and then it was like dropped it. He dropped it into the rim, and I was thinking to myself, "Well, that's a goal. That's offensive interference." And then I looked at it, I was like, "No, that ball was sailing upward." Yeah. He just threw it somewhere where no one else literally exists in this game.
Well, there was one play where I thought of Ethan because Ethan has written so many times about how sometimes slow-mo doesn't capture, like slowing down an amazing play actually does us a disservice to understand how awesome the play was, because in real time it happened so much faster. There was a entry pass to Wemby into the paint. I forget if it was Castle or whether it was Dylan Harper, but in a split second, Wemby just dunked it. Like it wasn't even an alley-oop. It was just, I'm catching this in the middle of the paint, but at the same time, I'm going to dunk it. I was just like, this is one of those examples that Ethan points out that if you slow that down, it doesn't capture how fast that was and how quick it was and how no one expected him to dunk it. It was just, here's an entry pass at the top of the key, and then he just turned around and flushed it through the rim. And that to me, I mean, that was like, that is something I didn't think was possible.
I think this is what people are tuning in for. I think this is what people notice, the Wemby phenomenon. I wonder if it's what people want basketball to be, especially as we're having these conversations about, it's a funny thing with the NBA. It's like every day is going to be the future for the next 10 years. It's just been going that way, right? Where the Celtics, oh my God, look at all the talent they have. They're so smart. They've won the championship. They are going to run the East for the next 10 years. And that was following the Nuggets, where they've got the best player. They're about to go on a run. I mean, how many championships is Jokic going to stack? And then after the Celtics, it's Oklahoma City. Look at all the young talent, all the assets Presti has. There is just no way that you can stop this. And now it's, well, the Thunder, game one, they're old news. Should the Spurs win, there's nothing that can be done about this 8-foot tall man. I'm not saying that's wrong, but if it is right, I wonder if it's what people want, because there's nobody roots for Goliath. There's nobody roots for Goliath as an idea, but we've almost come up with or been bequeathed with such a freakish Goliath that even if nobody theoretically roots for Goliath, everybody notices this and wants to see what the hell's going to happen with this.
You need Goliath. You don't need to root for him, but you need Goliath to exist for us to root against, right? And that's what we've been missing over the last 7-8 years, however many years it's been. I do think the difference with all of these examples is that San Antonio, whether they win this year or next year or whenever they win, their books are set up so perfectly cascading that they'll never run into what all those other teams ran into, which is financially you just can't keep doing this, right? The Thunder are going to come up against it. We're a year away from them having to make hard decisions about Hartenstein, about Lou Dort, right? And some
guys
other
who
guys
basically didn't factor into yesterday's game at all. Like Hartenstein was a Jokic acquisition.
Yeah.
He wasn't brought into the team to deal with Wemby, so you know.
Well, I mean, it's tremendous that like this Oklahoma City answer is like, we're going to put Alex Caruso. Yeah, and he's
the best player in the world. That's who Wemby took the belt from. It was like we were neck and neck. Wemby versus Caruso yesterday.
Yeah,
it was exhilarating. And then like the play you thought was unfair was against Caruso. He finally he just solved it. He's like, I'm just going to do a spin move and be way taller than you.
It will be lost to history that Caruso was doing a pretty damn good job on Wemby for a long stretch of that towards the end until Wemby remembered that he's 8 feet tall. But yeah, Caruso, really impressive. Chet, what the hell is happening? That's a whole other conversation.
That's
psychological evisceration is what's happening.
He owns him, and he's owned him for years, and this is just a continuation of that ownage. But going back, Boston, right? We knew this is like, oh yeah, we're gonna pay Derek White $1 gajillion and Drew Holiday $1 gajillion. Like you can't. It's non-sustainable, right? And that's just assuming that the basketball works. Even if the basketball works, the financial didn't work. Denver, we knew that immediately. Bruce Brown literally, we interviewed him on the court after Game 5. He's got the goggles on. He's smelling like champagne. And he's like, I can't wait to get paid. Like, he knew he was gone. And so all of these teams are having to deal with the reality of a collective bargaining agreement that says you're not going to be able to keep this around forever unless you have the covenants, right, of being able to set it up in a way where everyone doesn't get paid all at the same time. Not for a long time, right? So Wemby, Castle, Harper, and then there's whoever comes next. It's like they're all 1 year delayed. Mm-hmm. So Wemby's going to get paid his extension. That won't kick in not next year, but the year after that. So that's 2 years from the first big ticket item, 3 years from the second big ticket item, and 4 years from the third big ticket item. That means they have a window of these next at least 3 years to just go balls to the wall and not have to worry about finances.
And they're going to change the lottery, pulling up the ladder behind the Spurs to make sure this can't happen again, where you get the number 1, the number 2, the number 4. And the Thunder, they have hard decisions, but they can make those decisions. It's not similar, I think, to the Nuggets, where all of a sudden you just run out of options. With the Thunder, they can make a play with all their assets. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'm looking at this tweet right here from Ben Thompson. OKC has always been the play for a Giannis trade. And in retrospect, waiting until it became obvious the Thunder needed the one guy in the league who can match up with Wemby was the right move. It's good for Giannis too. If he wins, he'll get the credit he deserves. That's interesting. That's an interesting option for them. They've got options.
I don't know. I don't know if that's the right option, because they're in a position right now where all their guys are under 30. Right? They're all like 28 and younger. It's like, why would we accelerate the clock here? I think the way they're doing it is they've got, in the same way that no one knew about AJ Mitchell last season, and this year he's like one of their most important players. It's the cultivating of the replacement. So it's Thomas.
Yeah, but there's a low floor on that. There's a low floor on that. Like, in order to find the next Giannis, you got to wait a decade to get the next Giannis.
They don't need to find the next Giannis, right?
To beat Wemby?
They may not need it. They might beat him as is. It was a double overtime game. Why is everyone acting like the Thunder got demolished? This is a double overtime game. The dude had to hit crazy. Like that 3-pointer.
Prisoner of the moment.
If he misses that 3-pointer, we're all saying, what a dumb fucking shot. You're 7'9", and you're being guarded by a dude who's 6'4". Why are you shooting that one? He made it. Yeah. God bless him. It's an amazing. It'll live on in history. Mm-hmm. But like we cannot let's go get Giannis. Like, this is like the people said, the Warriors were like, we've got to go get Kevin Durant to beat the Cavs. Like the Cavs, who had to have like all of these incredible things happen in order for them to win that series. Like no, they get Kevin Durant because they needed him. They got Kevin Durant because they could, right? And because the cost was ridiculously low compared to the value. Giannis
I agree.
Is not that is not similar. I don't think.
I agree, and there's a prisoner of the moment reaction to everything. At the same time, there's just something to the Wemby phenomenon that feels almost like when one of those Game of Thrones dragons breaks free of the chains and starts flying up, and you just go, okay. At this point, it's different. Maybe the Thunder can win this series. I wouldn't even say maybe. I think they could win this series. But it just has this sense to it that you need more artillery. You need bigger weapons to deal with this particular problem. If he continues, people don't like to talk this way. I feel one of the reasons why you're talking about the salary issues with these teams that were supposed to rule everything. But it's not just salary that has changed the game. One of the reasons that the Celtics got derailed is the injury. I don't know if Wemby stays healthy. People don't like to talk that way now that we're talking about and projecting the next 10 years. I guess that's a consideration. That's something that you would admit to hoping for as a Thunder fan, but you definitely secretly would be hoping for.
Well, I was wondering, because in your piece, MVP is the NBA's worst kept secret. You wrote, you're rooting for the Thunder, and I was wondering where that's coming from. Like, what is it that you're, as an impartial guy, didn't know that you had a dog in the.
Yeah, Sam Presti pays me regularly.
Yeah.
So that's one of the factors. And
well, so do a lot of people. That's the point of the Substack.
It's a funny thing because there's an obvious joke when I say this, but SGA is the best way that I can teach my son basketball. And when I say that, the obvious joke is, oh, so he's going to learn how to flop. That's the obvious response. But Steph Curry as a teaching tool is just fundamentally useless when you've got young children. Just all they do is they go out there. I once took my kid to a basketball clinic, and he's doing the thing that you do. He's trying to just toss 3-pointers up on a 10-foot rim from the 3-point line that's fallen 10 feet short. And they can't really model their game off of that. With SGA, this is going to sound hipster, but you really can see how the game is played, and I can explain it. He destroys Austin Reeves with an in-and-out dribble. And so I say to my son, okay, next thing's going to be a counter off of that. With SGA, he's almost like the pitcher where he shows you the fastball and then he shows you the tunneled slider. And then the next play, he did just a hard between the legs after the in and out, because he uses that. He uses that move that just got a guy. And even if you might think it's coming or anticipate it, you've got that just reaction when you've been bitten by something or you've seen something. And he's just so crafty and he's just so skilled. And I have found that useful in my personal life of just pointing up to the TV and saying, you look at that, you look how he got there. It's easier with SGA. So that's why I've come to appreciate the Thunder.
It's the teaching tape, right? Like we used to, when I was a video coordinator, we used to make teaching tapes, and like our tapes were all like Paul Pierce at the high post. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because it's like, he's incredible, obviously. He's a Hall of Famer, but it's like, there's nothing you can look at there as a basketball player and say, oh, like, how could I ever, like, I can't have a Dwight Howard rebounding teaching tape. Because it starts with, you got to be 6'10" with like a 70-inch vertical. I can't, there's nothing you can glean there, right? Steph Curry, there's nothing you can glean there because his shot release is so fast and it's so accurate from all different angles and release points. They you literally can't teach it. But when you talk about Paul Pierce, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, guys like that, where it's like, oh, it's footwork. He jabs this way. He sees the center of gravity of the defender move this way. That allows him to counter back this way. He keeps his shoulder in between. Like all these things. And really, SGA maybe even more so because he's a skinny guy. Where Paul was a little husky, he was able to kind of do some more stuff there. That's why it pains me when people say like, "Oh, I hate watching the Thunder play." I'm like, they're amazing, dude. Like even last night, as Wemby's having this amazing game, every once in a while he'd make the mistake of going down from here to here, and it's like. It's like piranha.
Yeah.
They're everywhere. Casey Wallace and all these guys.
And then there's just a carcass. Yeah.
You just see, exactly. Like the cartoons. You see the water bubble, and then you just see a skeleton. And that's what it looked like. And to me, like, these guys are, man, when Jalen Williams had that steal and go come down on a fast break, I'm like, that's it. Game over. That's game over. The dude had an amazing game. And they just piranha'd the fuck out of him right there. Dylan Harper had a couple of turnovers. Like, these guys were just, they were there. And that three-pointer was just like a fucking Pulp Fiction adrenaline shot to the chest of the Spurs.
But it didn't impress you that much.
No, not. What impressed me was that goddamn just like, I'm just going to catch it in the middle of the air. Like, and it was like, he jumped up to the scoreboard, man. Like,
what impressed me, though, to be honest, what impressed me about that three-pointer that he hit was that it was just his second attempt. And this is last year.
That's crazy.
He had 13 attempts, like it did.
Game one against the Wolves. He was chucking.
And it's like, man, if that guy just figures out that he's 18 feet tall, just go into the post and then he's figured out. Yeah.
That's why I'm like, this, like, man, if Steph Curry or LeBron or Kevin Durant or any one of those guys had that. Oh, great game. But and he hit that big three in the crucial moment. I'd be like, damn, man, kind of inevitable. Mr. Wembanyama shot, 35% from three this year? What's in the playoffs?
There is a playing the result aspect to it.
I'm not, the guy's at 35% from three in the regular season, 35% from three in the postseason. Guys, it's okay to say the amazing player hit a lucky shot. Like, that's not given the distance.
But the crazy thing is that you just knew it was going in. There was just something about it, the flow of it, and I get it. It is funny. It is funny how prisoner of the moment the whole thing is. It is funny how everybody who loses is the worst guy ever. I laugh at all the memes. I laugh at every meme that's so-and-so player when I need them to do such and such, or so-and-so player, our season's on the line. And it's a guy who looks like that player and he's doing some goofy dance. I laugh at all of those, but there is often an overreaction to it. And I think it's all the more so because social media is a competitive space. So everybody's trying to top the overreaction of the other person. And it really gives this elevated sense that this closely contested game was indeed this absolutely crushing result that the other team can't possibly recover from. And there's no way that these players who came up short are going to be different next time. So I think there's something to what Amin is saying.
Well, let's move over to this Shams piece that he revealed before the game that De'Aaron Fox was going to miss game one, which was a genuine like, oh, whoa, that is breaking news. That's huge. I didn't see that coming. And that has been Shams this postseason where it's not trade deadline. It's not free agency, but he is breaking news. And one thing that got people all riled up was that he broke the news that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was the MVP, which is something that we've been all tracking. And Max Crows came on this show 2 months ago and said, yeah, Shai's in the lead by quite a wide margin. And it seemed like Blake Griffin and the Amazon group were annoyed by this, like genuinely annoyed that Shams broke the news. And in your piece, there are rivals on these production teams and the new streamers that are in the ball game, whether it's NBC, ESPN, and Amazon competing for this stuff. I mean, Amazon could have hired Shams for this very reason. Is like, we want to be the destination for not just the TV stuff, but like the breaking news. So there is something that Amazon could have done is they could have hired a newsbreaker that would have broken this news and they could create a TV show around it.
They could have. I think there's tension between the broadcasters because the NBA rights were negotiated quite well on the silver side. And per viewer, the NBA is way more expensive than some of these other sports. And then that comes with expectations from the broadcasters that we're supposed to get this. I don't know what was negotiated behind the scenes, but it certainly looked like Amazon believed that they,
so this is the deal. They have in their contract as part of it is they reserve the right to announce officially the MVP, right? In the same way that NBC officially has the right to announce the all-star starters and all-star reserves, right? Now,
yes,
for NBC, they can whiff, like they can get scooped on that because they'll say, well, fuck it, we have the all-star game. Right? So it's like, you know who the all-stars are? Yeah, guess what? You're going to have to still watch our shit. Whereas Amazon, they don't have anything. They don't even have game one for the ceremony, right? That was the end of their coverage is the end of the conference finals. That's why they negotiated for that. That's their last hurrah to be like, hey, it's the last broadcast of our coverage season. By the way, that's the MVP. Like that was their cherry on top. So they got scooped. This comes down to, I explained this on the Le Batard show. I said it's like having two people who are not friends, but they have a mutual friend.
Yes.
And the one guy has a problem with the other guy. It's the mutual friend's responsibility to step in. And like, guys, no. I promised him that he would get the last hot dog or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you got like these guys fighting over the last hot dog, I'm like, looks kind of gross. Yeah. Or like, these guys, kind of dicey. That's what the NBA is doing by allowing this to happen. It's not Shams' fault.
Yeah.
He saw a hot dog, he went and grabbed it. Right.
Instead of telling Shams to go to brunch, they should be telling Adam Silver to skip a brunch and lay down the law, because ultimately these leagues can control this to a degree. The NFL, they've got rules and regulations on what you can do as official media during the first round of their draft. The NBA doesn't. That's what the NBA chose to do. I think they decided it's just too hard. Somebody's going to break the info. Not every agent in this game needs a game credential, and not every reporter needs a game credential. And so it's just going to happen. So it wasn't worth it, but it seems to work. And so if that was in the Amazon contract, then the law needs to be laid down by the NBA, because ESPN, as far as I know, has no reason to play ball. I am amused as an inside baseball / basketball matter how these broadcasters don't like each other. And I like your analogy of them having the mutual friend. They all hate NBC. NBC is hated by the other broadcasters for
are they?
A slightly arcane reason.
Why is that?
The reporting of the ratings?
That's exactly what it is, because the reporting of their ratings is the reason why they are hated. And they're also hated a bit because they're brash. They're very NBC at the whatever the version of Upfronts is. They were, I guess, making a big production about how great they were, and the other broadcasters were rolling their eyes. But the other broadcasters have the ratings fully counted by Nielsen, including their streaming ratings. What NBC does is they have Nielsen count their NBC ratings, and then what's seen on Peacock is not under the Nielsen umbrella. It's counted by Adobe Analytics, so it's not checked by any third party. NBC then combines those numbers, and they come out and they say, oh my God, the most people watched ever. It's so much more. They don't overtly say this, but they basically say we're dominating. Our viewership is more. So what I've noticed is that ESPN has been pretty silent on viewership, and NBC has been they have their chest out saying, oh my God, 10 million watched, 11 million watched. And ESPN's in the corner just grumbling about how this isn't real, this is fake. And there's a lot of acrimony behind the scenes about this.
Can you help me out here though? Like, isn't the jig up when the advertisers, don't they know the real numbers? Like who cares if everyone's juicing the numbers? And I think, well, there is a victim here, and it's advertisers who are paying a lot of money for airspace, right?
Yeah, in theory, they're the victim, and they fought some of these changes with Nielsen. But when I talk to them, they say, yeah, we know the real numbers. We see those. We don't care what these guys say. It doesn't matter to us. They fought that reform just because it's like a PR war when they're negotiating these rates, but they've mostly accepted it. Right now, I think the issue is just more between the broadcasters, because it's bragging rights. It's prestige. It's important to them. It's not important to us. We might not care. I mean, I kind of care. It's kind of my beat, but overall, the vast majority of people don't care. But these people working for NBA, ESPN, Disney, ABC, and NBC, NBA, they want to have the broadcast that is the biggest broadcast, and so they care, and they're pissed off that Nielsen in this analogy is like the NBA. They're pissed off that Nielsen's not laying down the law and is allowing that. So that's that dynamic. Everybody's mad that some other authority isn't keeping the laws in order according to how they understand them.
Except for our mutual friend, right? Adam Silver doesn't mind these ratings being inflated a little bit.
Yeah, no, the NBA how much PR, yeah, the NBA PR account tweets out every NBC brag. They don't care. So take that up with mutual friend Nielsen if you've got a problem with it.
All the victory laps at the end of the season, most watched season ever, etc., was directly tied to all the changes, and I think the real interesting part is going to be next season's numbers compared to this season's numbers when everything's the same. But I do want to circle back a little bit to the Adam Silver Atlantic piece. Adam Silver goes to war, because watching last night's game, I couldn't help but think of the Coach K quote where he said, fans like defense too. And there was a whole lot of defense.
So much defense.
Game 1 of Thunder Spurs. What do you think is this the NBA that Adam has been chasing?
I mean, I don't think it's the NBA he's been chasing, but I'm glad that he caught it. I think that product is what I want. And man, that was a great game. And this is a great series because of the defense. I can also imagine Coach K saying that in the Coach K voice, which is why I enjoyed that quote from the article. Yeah, people like defense too. Yeah, I could envision it in my ear. So I think it's great. And it was funny because I saw people talking about how this was the highest level of basketball they had seen in years. And I'm not even saying they're wrong, but I found that to be an interesting comment because I thought to myself, didn't Stephen Castle have like 8 dozen turnovers? Again,
the Piranha was out in full force, man. And Shea had a shitty game, by the way. That's the other part.
That's what was interesting to me. It was because the ball's slipping all over the place, tons of mistakes. And I'm not saying that they're wrong when they say the highest level of basketball, but I almost wondered what they meant by it, because generally when we say that, it's because the offense is so clean and the execution is so beautiful. But we want things to be hard, man. Yeah, we do. And I mean, Tom's a bit of a golf fan. It's more fun when guys are hitting it in the lake. It's more fun. It's more interesting.
Drama for sure. But I also think one thing that came through in the game last night, Ethan, was they cared. Like Wemby was diving for a loose ball and he got like his head went into the hardwood, and Chet, his like foot touched the ball out of bounds, and instead of like flopping or like pretending he was hurt, he was like, it was out on him. It was out on him. He was like really invested in making sure the call was right and that he was going to win that game, in ways that maybe in the regular season, he's just on the ground, kind of writhing, like, oh, that was a foul. But it just seemed like they wanted to win so badly, and the purity and the integrity of the game was back in ways that in the regular season, we've just all been waiting. Like, can we have some real stakes to this game? And it felt like it was there in abundance last game.
Again, this I feel like I'm the Grinch who stole Christmas and stuff, man. But it's like, hey, what happens if one of these teams hits 25 threes last night?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's why
this is the greatest level of basketball. What is the greatest level of basketball we've ever seen?
What if Aaron Boone didn't hit the home run against Tim Wakefield? It's like, of course, the story does change.
It's fun. It's fun. It was a fun game. That's my thing. But when people say it's the greatest level of basketball because they cared so much, it's like, yeah, because somebody wasn't hitting 8 million threes, and it's a blowout as a result. Right? And so, like, to me, all of these things are relative. They're relative to what we're talking about. If we're talking about a Western Conference playoff finals game, yeah, it was a great game, but, like, I don't feel like this was a level of competition I haven't seen in a Moon's whatever.
No, your point is well made. It does remind me of Owen Wilson's character from the Royal Tenenbaums, hotshot writer, where he's talking about everyone knows that Custer died at Little Bighorn, but this book presupposes is, what if he didn't? There's a little bit of, but that happened to me, and that's what happened. We're reacting to what happened.
It's so annoying. Eli cashed this situation. He
did a great job.
I'm just saying, all I'm saying is, we can say it was a great game. It was an amazing game. It was a thrilling game. It was so fun. Oh, my God. These guys wanted it so bad, without giving it the superlative of, like, this somehow is different.
That's fair.
From other, games of this level of a conference finals.
Well, I do want to ask a meme. What is the platonic ideal basketball? In your opinion, like, what would be
I'm not fucking?
Like what is in your mind would meet the level of that was the greatest fucking game I've ever seen? Because if it's a bunch of guys making shots,
I gotta say, because what's funny is people compared the Wemby shot to the Steph Curry shot. In many ways, the Wemby shot is just more impressive because of the stakes of it. The game's probably over if he misses, but that Warriors Thunder regular season game would be the first game to come to mind if somebody's saying, hey, what's the greatest game you ever saw? I'm sure that I should name a playoff game, but for regular season, that game in terms of gameplay.
How about 2016 Game 7?
That was an ugly game.
It was
a historic result.
The game, fourth quarter was incredible, but like the most of that game was not well played, as are most game sevens, I find. Especially in the finals.
For sure.
Game 7 of Celtics Lakers in 2010. It was fucking disgusting, man. No one could make a shot. I think about that Steph Curry game a lot, Ethan, because again, it was in February. It was like, why? How could we ever compare? But I always think about it in the sense, and I'm glad that you're here so I can say this. It was the opening of the floodgate of something that we had only heard whispers of. You were the one who was saying, hey, Steph Curry routinely shoots from just inside of midcourt in practice, like normally, like a regular jump shot. And I remember saying, why doesn't he do it in the game? You ever ask him? He said, yeah, I asked him. I said, because it would just fucking blow people's minds. If I started playing like this, it would people would not be able to handle it. And so I remember watching that game, and the Warriors are making their comeback, and then they're down whatever, and Steph crosses midcourt, and I see him start to pull up. I was like, wait a second, I think there's still a lot of time left. And look at the clock. Yeah, there's a lot of time. Why is he pulling up from there? And I realized, oh shit, this is the thing Ethan was talking about. And he fucking drained it. And you could hear the whole, like, it was like Teen Wolf the first time he turned into a werewolf. Like, what the fuck is this? There's a werewolf in the middle of the court. But what it ended up doing was first normalized it for Steph. Like, hey, you can shoot these whenever you want, from wherever you want. And because of that, hey, we can set these screens higher and higher. And because of that, the defenders are going to have to fight over on all of them. And because of that, the rest of the thing gets spread out. And because of that, all these other great shooters around the league are like, well, fuck, why don't I start shooting from a little further back to give my screen setters the same kind of leeway, to give to make the defenses stretch like that. And now we've got a 7'19" guy doing that in a conference finals game.
Is it weird, though, to point out that the same Steph thing that you're talking about is like, why doesn't he just do this all the time? Is the inverse, which is Wemby taking 25 twos.
It's just, Wemby, why don't you just jump up in the air and fucking catch it and just drop it? Like, they literally could run that every single time. And the only way to stop it is to undercut him, right? They could just throw it up and he's just like catch it somewhere like around 30 feet.
Well, maybe that's why they don't do it all the time. There's a little bit of, hey, why doesn't the quarterback run all the time? Well, he's going to get injured if he runs all the time. So they've got to mix it up. Yeah. I think maybe that's the reason. But to what Amin is saying, that is something in sports where there are good ideas that require some social proof to become widespread. There are good ideas that are just too much against the way things are done to where if you go out and do them and it doesn't work just that one time, it's not gonna happen. It's
going for it on fourth down.
Going for it fourth down, exactly. Yep.
I remember Theo Epstein wanted to do closer by committee, and he was like, this is the most brilliant thing, is why do we have like one guy who's supposed to close the game when we can just kind of instead of one size fits all, let's just put in a bullpen guy that has the best matchup. And it failed miserably because all the bullpen guys were like, I need to know when I'm playing every night. Like, I need to know, like, come into the game, get in the bullpen, warm up, knowing I'm going to be in the 7th inning or the 8th inning. And like my whole mindset changes. And so in practice, the great closer by committee idea flopped majorly because he did not appreciate the mental side of the game and the mental prep. Same with 4th and 1. I think punting should be illegal, but it seems like there's probably a graveyard of NFL coaches that went for it on 4th down, flopped, and then got fired.
Well, the other part of that is
Staley.
When you do the status quo and it doesn't work, no one's going to blame you.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you do something out of the ordinary and it doesn't work, everyone's on your ass. So in the case of going for it on 4th down, if you punt on 4th down, maybe it's different now. People are more like, hey, you should have gone for that. The numbers say this or whatever. But for the most part, if you go for if you punt on 4th down, no one's going to be like, oh, that was a bad decision. Or at least the chatter is lower. But if you go for it and you don't make it, everyone loses their fucking mind. And so, I'm trying to think what the basketball equivalent of that is.
I felt like that was a quote from the Joker, when things don't go according to plan.
Everyone loses their mind.
Everyone loses their mind. Yeah. There's this hedge fund billionaire guy, Steve Kuhn, who does the sports prediction thing that I'm partnered with. And he is trying to promote this idea called fourth and smart, because his belief as this hedge fund poker lover is that special teams, the NFL, should be a mixed strategy. That it's ridiculous that these teams trot out the punter, or if they're going for it, trot out the offense. They should have formations where a punt could conceivably happen and a play could conceivably happen, and the defense does not know which or what. And with these formations, you can't even counter them with the traditional gunner and everything else. It makes total sense to me. I am convinced that he is correct. But for whatever reason, even though somebody had to figure this out, it's just too hard culturally, I think, at this point in football to say, hey, here's how we're doing special team situations. It could be one or the other, and nobody knows which one.
Well, it's like what Tom said with the closers. You need to know that you're punting, right? Because if the guy is going to punt or throw it, then he's not locked in. He's not confident.
But they know. The defense doesn't know. That's the point, Base.
I think the big thing is it's kind of like shooting threes in the NBA, where it was like, this is a gimmick and this is only for like we're down 3 with 5 seconds to go. And how do you change the culture of teaching players, hey, don't take that one dribble in, stay right there, or dribble to the side and shoot that one. Like, that was a thing. I tell people when I was growing up, they close out hard, you pump fake, and you take 2 dribbles in and take the high percentage shot, which is like a 15-footer. But it's like what happens is if you start doing it, someone's got to start doing it and be successful at it. And what ends up happening is it trickles down not to the other teams on the pro level, but to the lower levels. Right.
Well,
bitty ball and middle school, high school, etc.
I think some of the bias is we might not want the game to be what's smartest or what is unconventional. And sometimes when people bemoan analytics, what they're really saying is, I don't like what analytics did to the game. I don't like this ultra optimized version of the NBA where an 8-foot tall guy is shooting threes. I don't want special teams to be some weird thing. I certainly don't want, now I'm speaking for myself, what's happened in baseball where your starter isn't a workhorse who goes out and tries to get you a complete game, and they can just do that bullpen mode and they can just cycle through guys, and all of a sudden the star is not the star anymore because we've done the science and we can maintain velocity by having a bunch of pitchers swap in and sub in. So I think sometimes it's not just a pig-headed bias against the unconventional and the unproven. It's also that we're all fans at heart, even the people involved in these sports. And there's this sense of, I don't want the game to be that. I don't want this to be where we're headed. I believe that's part of it.
Ryan Glassspiegel wrote for Front Office Sports that he thinks Daryl Morey should be hired like Theo Epstein to protect the game, because he can figure out, hey, this is where the trends are. We should design this game, the NBA game. We should design it such that it will incentivize the things that we want to incentivize. We want hard drives to the basket, dunks, all this stuff. We don't want as many threes. We want the mid-range to be back. Daryl Morey could come in here like Theo Epstein did with the pitch clock and the shift ban in baseball and say, oh, we can hack our way to get to the ideal basketball nirvana. What did you think about Ryan's idea, and would you endorse Daryl Morey as being the Theo of?
Yeah, I thought it was a great idea from Glassman, and it's very to catch a thief, right? To catch a thief, we need a thief. To catch an analytics, to catch an analytics monger, we need an analytics guy who'll know how these people think in order to counter these people. I think it's a very good idea. And, the NBA, they have tried to tweak the game and address certain complaints, but they never do it in the way I want them to, or they rarely do it. A lot of times when they're doing a reform, I just don't trust that they're going to go about it in the right way. Like when they brought in replay review, I don't want that reform. I don't like that reform. There are a lot of things like that where it's, oh my God, guys, defenders grab a guy on a breakaway dunk. We need to stop that. Okay, we're going to have a clear path review, and we're going to slow the game down even more to prevent this slowing of the game down. So that's my way of saying I don't trust the league office to make a lot of these changes, and I would trust Daryl more so to be the guy in charge of it. So I think it's high time they delegate it, and why not Morey?
Well, I also think, like, don't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining with the whole Joe Dumars when they changed the defensive rules and they were like trotting out Joe Dumars to go on national airways being like, no, we didn't change the way the game is called. We didn't go in there and tell the referees.
Unless you like it. Do you like it though?
But do you like
it? Yeah, but
and then in this Atlantic piece, it's like, yeah, we absolutely pulled the sliders because Coach K said so. And it's like, yeah, then just come out in All-Star and say, hey, we decided to get back to a defensive-minded approach and not tell everybody, hey, we don't tweak the rules mid-season. We don't kind of pull the strings with the referees mid-season when Ethan, we were both like, obviously something happened here. But they had to wait until after the season to admit it.
Yeah, it infuriated a lot of people in the NBA that they just changed the rules without telling anybody about it. Although a lot of fans liked the defensive, grindy play that resulted. Now, my big thing is actually Andrew Sharp's big thing, which is I think slowing the game down is what the focus should be. They're not going to cut games. I know Tom wants that. I want it to a degree, but I just don't think it's ever going to happen. So instead of reducing the games,
it's two different things.
Well, I just
wanting something and then thinking it's not realistic are two different things. I'm with you. I don't think it's going to happen, but I
of course. Think it's better. But what I think is more plausible isn't that we get fewer games, but that we get fewer possessions. The Sharp idea is that after a made basket, the referee has to touch the ball first in order to slow things down. So you just can't run it out immediately after a made basket. And I think that's a pretty good idea. That's what I'd like to see implemented by Daryl or whoever.
But do we want a game that's slow and walk it up? See, that's the thing. I think sometimes what people want, this is what people want. They want the illusion of an obstacle. They want to feel like this offensive thing overcame resistance.
Yeah.
Right? What they don't want is to watch people walk up and down the court. I guarantee that, right? The thing that we're looking for is how do we give defenders a better chance at being able to defend? Not how do we go back to 2003? That's not the answer. That's not the answer.
I don't think we're going to be going back to 2003 if we do that. And there's still going to be the missed shot runouts that happen. And I'm not saying that this idea, because I haven't seen it implemented, I'm not saying that this idea will go perfectly, but I think it's the right thing to target. Because if we're not going to get rid of games, I think there's a sense that a possession has been devalued in the regular season. That when Bam Adebayo scores 83 points against the tanking Wizards, there's a feeling that this is not real. Versus when it happened when Kobe Bryant did 81, people felt like that was real. And if you have fewer possessions, you're going to have scores that are more in accordance with what we're used to. And you might have fewer injuries because one of the reasons these guys get hurt is because of the pace of the game and how you have so many more bites at the apple, I guess. Although that's not really the metaphor for what we're talking about right here, but you see what I'm saying. So I just think that's the thing to target. We've had possession inflation with pace and space. We need some possession deflation. So if Morey's getting this hypothetical job that we don't think he's getting, that's the first thing I'm telling him.
I would have a different edict if I was Daryl.
And what would that be?
Ban the hardened step.
There's so many hardened steps.
Well,
the gather and then
the gather, the step back where you're like taking 18 steps to get behind the 3-point line.
It's all about the gather. All of this is all about the gather. Right?
It is.
Because the original thing was like you're allowed 2 steps, but then it's like the 2 steps don't necessarily need to be going towards the basket. The hardened step is 2 steps backward, which is fine, I think. If we're doing it the way we all grew up playing basketball, which is the moment your dribble ends, that's the start of the step. Not like I can palm it and go like this, and it's still like as many steps as I want.
It's so weird now where if the ball is spinning, then it is not rested, and therefore, and so players just have the ball spinning like it's one of the tops in Inception, and they're taking all these steps with it. And
the videos are like, oh, and this is when the gather step starts. And I'm like, no. Yeah. When you stop the video is very subjective of when that ball is come to a rest in the palm of your hand is a very subjective thing, which also I think, you're right, is the gather step. If you tighten the rules on the gather step, it changes not just the pace of the game, because I think it gives defense a better shot at defending if you don't have a step through, or you don't have this side step to get to a 3-pointer, or the backward step. All of it would give a lot of power back to the defense. And I think the injuries would decrease, because I don't think those are healthy movements for your joints and for your calves and for the other chain.
The body knows when you're traveling spiritually, and it rejects it. It understands, and it corrodes. You need to be playing purity of basketball for your body to stay strong.
Have you written, Ethan, about the Bob Myers, Daryl Morey dynamic?
I have not, but I went on Philadelphia radio on Spike Eskin's radio show, and I felt like I was telling tales at a school about it. I felt as though I was saying things I should either be writing and couching, but instead I was just saying them on Philly Talk Radio. I'm fascinated by it. I'm fascinated by the whole dynamic between Myers and Morey.
Tell me more. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm like somebody you go like I would never spill secrets.
Let me do this on my story. Yeah, let me report this out on my own, please.
Can I use this audio on my podcast feed?
Yeah.
I wonder.
Yeah, I wonder. I'll talk to your producer.
Let's go.
Yeah, talk to
let's go. Okay, Mace. Okay.
But are you saying that there's more there that you want to unspool, or that you?
I'll say it here.
Yeah.
I think those guys have been engaged in a rivalry that is more heated on the Bob Myers side than on the Daryl side. I think those guys additionally have what the other guy wants. And so I find that interesting. This is just from my impression over the years. I've had a lot of conversations with both guys, and not so much with Morey about Bob Myers, but from the Bob Myers side, let's just say Bob was acutely aware that Daryl was a more famous in many ways GM who got more credit despite Bob Myers winning all these championships. And I think part of that dynamic is we want something different from GMs than we want from everybody else in sports. Everybody else in sports, we want you to win. That's the main thing that we want. We want victories. We want championships. We'll give you glory if you achieve that. With GMs, for whatever reason, we want you to be an ideas guy. And if we don't consider you an ideas guy, if we can't match an idea to you, well, you better be Jerry West. Otherwise, we're just not going to think too much about you. And Billy Beane.
Uh-huh. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just giving the examples. Like Billy Beane, right, is one of the most famous GMs ever in baseball. Didn't win anything. Sam Hinkie is a famous GM. Famously, his whole big idea was not winning. Daryl has not won the championship, but Morey ball is an idea. Meanwhile, how much credit do people give Bob Myers? I don't think the people of Philadelphia are clamoring for him to run the Sixers, which is kind of incredible considering
think about that.
The resume. But you were saying to me.
No, yeah. So Bob feels like he should get more praise in general, or just that I can't believe they praised this guy.
Hey, man, I'm not saying all that. Certain things were said. Maybe statute of limitations is out. I'm just saying the dynamic in Golden State was that let's say the Lakers were quite enamored with Daryl. They're VC guys. They love a quant. And Daryl is a quant.
But also, this goes back to, we talk about the value of being different.
Yes.
Right? Well, like Daryl's just different.
Here's what I would say about
that makes rich people go like, ooh, yeah. Like that different guy. He thinks outside the box.
Here's what I would say about Bob. I think Bob quite consciously tried to live the value of the John Wooden quote that he loved, that it's amazing what you could accomplish when nobody cares who gets the credit. Mm-hmm. So during this entire run, there's just glory being passed out everywhere. There's just an abundance of glory all over the place. Who wants a magazine profile? Who wants a TV interview? This guy's great. That guy's great. And Bob consciously kind of kept the media a little bit, at a remove. And we were aware of that covering the team. And he was doing a lot of trying to make everybody get along and playing peacemaker. But the result of trying to live this value of, I'm not going to try to seek credit. I'm not going to try to seek credit. You ask people, well, what's the Warriors? What's the Dynasty Warriors? You go, oh, it's Steph Curry, Steve Kerr. And then the other guys down the line. Mm-hmm. It became a manifestation of Steve Kerr's vision, which I think it was. But Bob never really opened up the vault to say, hey, here's what Bob Ball is. Here's my philosophy. And as a result, it's just true. He should be happy. He made millions of dollars. He won all these championships. But it's just true that people don't really care that much about his imprint.
As someone who worked in a front office and had the same approach and then had to work for a front office where it was like, if you weren't begging for recognition for everything, it was something wrong with you. I understand. I think it only matters in the sense that when your employer isn't even in on it, right? If the rest of the world is like, what has Bob Myers ever done? It's like, oh, Jerry West that did everything. I'm like, that's fine. The problem becomes when the people signing your checks are like, yeah, what has Bob ever done? And I think that's the part where it gets problematic, right? Is that it's not that the media or the fans didn't recognize Bob for what he did. It's that Joe Lacob apparently did.
Yeah. It's like those championships were great, but this Wiseman guy, this Wiseman character. So yeah, and then on the other side of it, Daryl is really competitive and badly wants to win. I don't think Daryl really thought about Bob or felt any particular way like that, but he wanted those championships. And I remember having a conversation with Bob years ago where he was saying, man, when I see Daryl really just a ball of anxiety and nerves in the stadium during those Rockets Warriors games, I wish I could just come up to him and say, it's not even going to do for you what you think it's going to do for you.
Yeah,
he had the experience of, you win the championship. Oh my God, it's so great. Champagne, incredible. And then you fly back and then it's just the same problems. And you've got this fantasy that it's going to validate you in some way. And it just doesn't.
I remember there's the front office of a team that won a championship. I have a lot of friends. It's not Golden State. And I remember that maybe like a year later at Summer League, hanging out with them and like shutting down everything. And it's like 5 a.m. and we're in a hotel suite. And it's like maybe like 10 people from that staff are all there. And I said, and we're all like, it's the moment. It's that moment where it's your truest self. I'm drunk enough. It's late enough. I'm going to ask. And I was like, is it everything that like, and they said, you know what? For like a week it is. It is everything you imagine. It's amazing. It's this incredible feeling. You're never coming to everywhere you go. People are congratulating you. And then the realization sinks in that nothing has changed. And we just got to do it. Like, we got to do it again now. And it's like, and it's a hole that you shovel into, but it never fills up. And I was like, fuck, man, that's...
Wow, Joe Mazzulla said that?
Yeah, I was just going to say Mazzulla. Huh?
No, but Joe Mazzulla would have said that, and that's good.
That's what I live for.
Yeah, I love the despair. I love the depression.
The Sisyphean reset of the rock tumbling down the hill again.
I love all those Mazzulla stories. I love the stories about how in drills, the winning team has to run sprints because they need to learn the lesson that success only results in more pain and pressure. adore all of those stories. But yeah, if we catch the things we're chasing, it can be a depressing realization, and maybe it's not so.
I don't know what I'm going to do if I catch it.
I'm like a dog after a car. I don't have a plan. I'm not a schemer.
You want a Pulitzer. Is it the honeymoon phase is over?
Yeah, there you go.
Not yet, baby.
Not yet. Well, we're still in that weekish sort of period following that. But yeah, maybe it's not so coincidental, as I wrote in my book, that Charles Barkley's happier than Michael Jordan. Maybe if Charles Barkley had gotten what he sought, he just wouldn't be as sunny a personality. Who knows? But Bob Myers,
hard to be optimistic when you've been to the mountaintop and you realize, like, oh, there's nothing there.
Yeah, it's all fantasy. It turns out that this simulated war game called sports that we play isn't actually real, and it's all a bunch of contrivance. And even if people care about it, it's all totally ephemeral. I mean, you see this to a degree right now with the Oklahoma City Thunder. They thought that they were going to reach the mountaintop and everything would be different. One bad game, and it's these guys are bums. That was all fake. And we just rip status from you quicker, which almost makes it even more illusory. I mean, I thought about this with the Super Bowl. The moment I think about when it comes to this is there's an NFL Films clip of Jalen Hurts after he throws that touchdown bomb to Smith in the Super Bowl a couple years back. Because there's always been noise with Jalen Hurts and controversy, and is he good, is he not? And it might have been Smith, might have been somebody else, might have been an O-lineman. I think it was an O-lineman. And it's the NFL Films Super Bowl footage, and he's saying, you're validated, they can't F with you now, you're validated, it's done. And in that moment, sure, the next season, Hurts was shaky, and it all came roaring back, even more so. So it doesn't even accomplish some of the traditional things you'd think it would accomplish nowadays.
I mean, to bring it back to Daryl Morey, they just took down the Boston Celtics. And then a week later, he's out of a job. Or you can go, Rudy Gobert was, everybody was raving about Rudy Gobert. I'm sorry, Rudy, if you're on here. No. But then he got embarrassed in the second half of that series. It reminds me of Brian Windhorst, who says all his favorite maxim in the NBA is there's always time. And when Brian says it, he's usually in an optimistic tone, but I also look at it from the opposite side, which is
you're right.
Is like we had a moment where Rudy is he's certified now. We can never take that guy down because what he did in that series was amazing, what he did against Jokic. And then a week later, he's a bum again. And there's always time for the other shoe to drop. I'm sorry, Rudy.
Yeah, there's always time to be a bum.
You either die a hero or you live long enough to become the villain. The Batman.
That is Batman.
Sacha Baron Cohen said in Talladega Nights, is what I assume is being.
Will you be my Kitty Kurik?
By the way, Wemby has a little bit of that character in him, which amuses me. Where he'll talk about existential philosophy. Sounds like he's talking about Formula 1 instead of the traditional NBA quotes.
Ethan, did you two? You're talking about your kid and how you're watching a lot of Shea to teach him basketball. Does your kid, is he moved by Wemby at all?
I mean, he notices him. The problem is that your kids are often going to mirror some of your takes because they don't understand everything else that's happening. And I'm not trying to teach him that, oh my God, you should be amazed. But no, you notice it's a noticeable thing. It cuts through. I don't know if kids love Wemby or don't like Wemby, but I'm pretty sure that they, like everybody else, notice Wemby. It's just nothing to model your game after. That would be ludicrous.
Yeah. I remember Manute Bol, I was just obsessed with.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of like in the Guinness way with like Muggsy Bogues, of course. And then there's Manute, and it just the novelty Guinness World Records aspect of it is like, wait, there's a guy who's 5'3" and is really good in the NBA. And then there's a guy who's 8 feet tall and also really good. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like my kids watching the NBA now. Wemby, I think it is a reflection of me because I'm like, hey, this is easy for them to understand that guy is so much taller than everybody else, and look at him dribble the ball and shoot the ball. And it goes back to Spike Eskin's take, which is like, yes, so what? He's like 8 feet tall, so he should be dominating. And it's like, if it's that easy, then Taco Fall should be in the NBA, but he's in China. Right?
Yeah. People could take issue with the Spike take, but I do think there's a question there about, do people want the NBA to be completely you have to be this tall to get on the ride sport? It was fun when you could have a Minute and a Muggsy. And yeah, tallness has always been the most pronounced selection pressure in becoming an NBA basketball player. But I just wonder if that's the real future, if that's the future 20, 30 years from now. Do we want a future where it's a starting 5 of everybody over 7 feet tall against a starting 5 of everybody over 7 feet tall? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe.
They got to trade for Giannis. Okay. We've already traded. Sam Presti's already made the trade. What is the trade? Okay. Maze, what is the trade? Do you think it's Jalen Williams?
Hartenstein.
And AJ? We can throw in AJ as the young prospect,
Topic. Some picks.
Which,
I don't know. I mean, I like that the whole world is kind of cooled on Giannis. I like that it's not as exciting to trade for Giannis anymore. I like that that's happened. It's interesting. It's either setting up for a big I'm here, I'm back type situation, or it's like, yeah, the naive chicken nugget eating, corn dog having Greek freak
smoothie swilling
of the 2010s is, his time's up. Life comes at you quick. It's ephemeral.
What do you think would be the biggest sports culture trade? We just throwing this grenade on you, but if like Ja got traded to the Bucks, it would be a really fun. Like, all right, let's see, like Ja Morant out of Memphis, trying to write his new chapter, going with the guy who is famously wishy-washy about his public preferences about getting traded. I'm trying to figure out what would be the most interesting House of Strauss NBA trade on the big board. Because we just discussed Giannis going to OKC, if that would get you excited.
That one piqued my interest. It's rare that the hypothetical trades pique my interest, but the Giannis one does. I'm not enough of an expert, Tom. I write about weird industry issues and media chatter. I'm in an odd position where, look, I'll make time during the playoffs for the NBA, but I get up really early. I don't stay up late watching, and I'm in an odd position of not following the league ardently, but I'll be talking to GMs of teams every now and again, and they'll refer to something about their team as though I know it, and right. I just pretend to know it. I go, oh, you know how we've been playing recently? And I go, oh, yeah, but I've not really been tracking it. So the thing I'm terrified to do is to come on here and start floating trade ideas.
No, I'm not saying basketball.
I'm saying like only for like Danny LaRue to descend from the rafters and go, that can't happen. CBA
second implications. Second apron, Ethan.
That guy doesn't even play for that team anymore. Like, oh my God, this is humiliating.
Oh, I was just thinking from a sports culture standpoint of like what would be the most interesting, like if Jokic got traded to the Lakers and Luka and Jokic decided in Lakerland to like, take down Wemby and the Spurs or OKC, and with like what would be from a culture standpoint or a first take standpoint, if there's anything that you're like secretly hoping the NBA gets.
Oh, I would have wanted those guys to be teamed up in some capacity. I don't know if I want it to be on the Lakers necessarily, but that would be, my considerable eyebrows would be raised by that one. I'm into that. You throw things at me, I can tell you if I like them or not.
Giannis
I'm
to the Warriors.
Terrified. Oh yeah, cool, done. Send it in, please. It's so boring out here. Please.
What about the old millennial Globetrotters? LeBron, maybe even KD back in Golden State with Steph.
That's a little too weird. Giannis, I got excited. That one just feels that feels sad and uncomfortable to me.
Cheap? Does it feel like
sideshow, circus sideshow?
Feels
Look
like
at
a
what
rock
these old
band
guys can do.
Yeah, it feels like you're going to see the Rolling Stones perform. It's just that one doesn't do it for me.
Giannis to the Knicks.
I mean, a little bit interested. A little bit. What is it about the Knicks, by the way?
Good. Yeah.
What is it about the Knicks, by the way, where they seem like the probable finals representative? They've got all these celebrity fans, but it just seems like there's something about them that outside of New York, people aren't terribly interested in the way they are with the Spurs, for instance. What's up with the Knicks as a product?
At Yahoo, we do the weekly big number with Dan Devine, and we do this show. And I remember at the end of the season, Ethan, I don't think we talked about the Knicks once.
Yeah.
In the 30 weeks of the show in the season, I don't think we really talked about them. I think they're boring. I think the fact they've been together for so long, we've seen them play in the playoffs, and Jalen Brunson he doesn't have any interesting things to say. So the press conferences are very by the book. And
I like Brunson too. I think he's got a cool personality. I'm a Brunson enjoyer, but yeah, there's just something about them that doesn't, I don't know. I don't know whether they just slip through the cracks of the sports appetite, and somebody could say I'm wrong and it's New York City and Timothée Chalamet. But there's just something about them that it just doesn't work on the marquee. It's Brunson's done an amazing job to help get them where they are, but nobody thinks that they've got one of the main stars in basketball. And in the NBA, that kind of matters.
Yeah, I think you hit it on it. So I think people love the story of Jalen Brunson, but there's a recognition that he's not in that circle of five.
Jalen Brunson, he's the little engine that could. But he's not the little engine that should. And there's a difference. There's a difference, folks.
Thank you, Colin.
Yeah, thanks.
I appreciate that button on this episode. Say hello to our mutual friend while you're at it. That's Ethan Strauss, House of Strauss, Substack. You might be listening to this on the House of Strauss Substack.
Yeah.
When all's said and done.
Thanks for joining us, Ethan.
Thanks for having me.